Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel. American Ultra Stock here today, joined by Braden, Akil, and Jeff. By popular demand, we are making this video about the Women's World Cup. Some people requested on the comments, so that's very nice to see. We'll try to do our best. I'll admittedly just say right off the bat, I didn't watch all of the games, but I did watch some. So speeding through the group stage, what happened? Switzerland tops Group A and Norway in second place. The only difference was how badly Norway thrashed the Philippines, and that's ultimately what made them go through on goal difference. Now moving on to Group B, Australia and Nigeria making it through. So a bit of a shock here. A lot of people really rated Canada and they are out. So, I mean, a really shaky defense. 5 goals conceded, only 2 scored. Braden, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this was the humbling that Canada needed. And I think they're kind of facing a similar situation as the US is, where they're used to kind of being one of the best teams, and it seems like the rest of the world has kind of caught up, and they weren't ready for it. I mean, getting spanked 4-0 in an elimination game, basically, embarrassing. It can't happen.
That's true. Jeff?
Take that, Jordan Hitima. That's what you get for humbling my boy Davies like that. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, like men and women. The men's got eliminated, finishing last. Canada finished crashing out third. What can we say? It runs in the culture.
All right, now going to Group C. The favorites, in my opinion, one of the favorites to win, Japan, 11 goals, no goals conceded. They topped the group, trashed Spain, who had a lot of hype. You know, some players are really hyped up in Spain. And I'm just going to mention, because my sister's name is Hinata, top goal scorer of this tournament. Anyone has a say on this one? Yeah, Jeff?
It's another case, like men, like women. Japan humble Spain. They topped the group. Spain, well, yeah, they finished second, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like men, like women. Runs in the culture.
Moving on to Group D, England and Denmark are through. A lot of hype around England. I really rate Williamson. I think she's one of the best registas in the women's game. I don't know how to say that in a different way, but she really dictates the tempo. They have some good players. Only a fine margin win against Denmark, and they topped the group. They're through. Any comments on this group?
Let's go, Frank Kirby.
All right. Now to Group E, the Netherlands topping the group. The United States with a very underwhelming performance. Some people that followed in this game, they say that this was, you could see it beforehand coming up, and I think that Sophia Smith is probably one of the only players that can have a say. Her, Horan, and Ertz. I think Ertz was doing really good, honestly, and helped the team not concede and have any more embarrassment here. I suppose everyone's going to have a take on this one. I'll start with Braden. What did you think about the women's team?
Yeah, I think they need to realize that they're not who they think they are anymore. I mean, obviously, basically since the start of the Women's World Cup, since the very first one, I mean, the US have been the top dogs because we are basically the only country who put such an emphasis on growing the women's game, which is good. But now that the rest of the world, specifically Europe, I would say, has begun to focus on it more. I mean, we're seeing teams like Sweden, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, Japan even overtake us. And we're not used to that. I think the team still has the we're the best, no one can beat us mentality, which is just going to get them embarrassed. So I think they need to realize that they're not the favorites that they once were, and they need to approach the game as such. And the coach is doing absolutely awful. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't really care, to be honest. Vlatko, yeah. I don't know why we hired him. I don't know what his credentials are, but I mean, he's clearly not suited for the job. I mean, he's not making subs, like 1 to 2 subs a game. They're not even the right ones. I mean, the U.S. women's team has apparently the best bench in the entire tournament, so why not use it?
I'll move on to Jeff. What's your take about the group performance of the U.S. YNT? No.
About time. About time the tables turn.
I mean,
About
they're worse
time.
than the youth national team.
Yeah, about time. You know, I've been. How long I've been waiting? I've been waiting 8 years for this. You know, for them to finally, drop their ego, for them to bury that and say, you know what, maybe we're not who we are, and we're a bunch of frauds. And anyways, yeah, they gotta realize that they're not the same anymore. I just don't like that, and especially with the bragging, the bragging and the crying and the bragging about equal pay. And when that happened, that started their downfall. Just look at the games after they won equal pay. You know, and that's when I said this is gonna destroy them. Just them like finally protesting and getting what they want. It's gonna cause their downfall because they're gonna feel like there's some top dog, best in the world when it's not even the case anymore. And as for the performances, pretty mid, pretty not to what we expected. I expected them to maybe lose here and there, or maybe even just not be perfect, but they exceeded my expectations. And as for the coach, he's just a Greg wannabe. He's trying his best impression of Greg. Making dodgy decisions. Making subs when they're supposed to, and playing the players that you're not supposed to play. You're choosing your favorites and not playing the quality players. That's another reason why they're not doing so well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sweden smacks them. And as for me, I'm going for Sweden. Yeah, I'm a be of a Swede temporarily throughout the rest of the tournament.
All right, we'll have predictions later on. Akil, I just want to ask you: do you advocate for pay disparity to come back, or like Jeff, or do you think that the women didn't perform that bad at group stage?
Okay, first of all, I think the group stage performance was obviously very underwhelming. The Vietnam game, we saw that, was it 3-0 or 4-0? I forgot, but
3.
The Netherlands just beat them 7-0. And there's no excuse for us to not put more goals past them. And in the second game against the Netherlands, one sub was made by Vlaco, and he thinks he's Greg, basically. He's Greg. He subbed on Jordan Morris instead of Gio Reyna, and this guy made one sub all game. And his excuse was that they were controlling the game, but what good does it do if you control the game but you don't get any goals or any shots on target or anything that convinces you that you're actually going to get a goal before the end of the game? And the last game against Portugal, I think that they just really did not care to score a goal. I think they wanted to defend that whole game, and that's pretty negative considering the Portugal women's team is not a very good team at all. And it's just a negative way of playing. And if they go into the Sweden game playing like this, there's no way they're going to win. And they just have to step up their game. Like players like Trinity Rodman were very underwhelming during the group stage. Alex Morgan, to an extent, the whole front three basically was not good enough. And they had Julie Ertz and Naomi Girma carry them the whole game with their fantastic defensive performances.
All right, Braden, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one quick thing. I think it's funny how, since the women have gotten their equal pay, they've decided to play exactly the same as the men's team.
Wow,
He's
that's
spitting
fair.
facts. He's taking a page out of my book.
All right, moving on to the next group. France and Jamaica. They advanced. France are notoriously really good team. They always put up a good fight at every World Cup. Some really silky players as well. And I just want to say to the Brazilian national team, do you know that the Brazilian women's national team has more investment than the men's Jamaica team? They have a better infrastructure, a training ground for themselves, and they always cry at Marta. Everyone says, Marta is so good, Marta is so good. She never did anything, never won anything in her entire career, not even a South American championship. So, wow, who's she playing against? I don't even know, but Brazil, Debinha, she's a really good player, but one of the first players to play without a brain. Props to her. She managed to do that. And the rest of the Brazilian team, really nice. They always like to get praise. But the Brazilian women's team, they always try to play with the 5 stars that the men won, but they want equality. They get forced to not wear them and they start crying. Now they have their opportunity to finally put their hands on the star and win a World Cup. They cry a lot about investment. And the Brazilian FA did a lot to actually contribute to the women's game. And they fell in the group stage to a team that in 2014 were having to sell cookies. Literally, Jamaican women's team was selling cookies to buy kits. But the Brazilian team, they're going to cry that they don't have an infrastructure. Brandon, you had something to say about this group?
Yeah, I think Jamaica just deserves a massive round of applause because they honestly should not have even been at this World Cup because the JFF, I mean, how many times do I have to mention it? It's probably the worst federation in the world. I mean, they didn't give the funding that the Jamaican team needed. They had to set up a fundraiser for the fans just so they could make the flight over. They wouldn't have even been at this tournament if it was just solely up to the federation. So it's unfortunate that the federation is going to get the credit for the success because they don't deserve it. But massive props to the women's team. I mean, they've just done the unthinkable, surviving against one of the biggest footballing nations in the world.
All right, Jeff, you have something to say?
Yeah. First of all, shout out to Marta. I mean, she's pretty much the Brazilian women version of Kane, not winning anything, but yet gets a lot of praise. And also, yeah, she's gonna retire. It sucks that she had to go out this way, but since the Brazilian women's team, they brought it on themselves. And as for Jamaica, shout out to them. You know, they didn't get as much hype as the men's team, but yet they delivered, unlike, you know, a certain Jamaican men's team did at the Gold Cup. But yeah, and this is pretty much them slapping the federation in the face, you know, just not getting backed, but yet defied all odds and made it out of the group stage. Hopefully they have a memorable run, and they can definitely, you know, show the federation just how much they should be backing them.
All right. Also, we mentioned the federation, everything. This Netflix shows Captains is a really good watch to see just how bad the Jamaican Federation is. But going on to the next group, the team that we're gonna face in the next round, Sweden. They topped the group, only conceded 1 goal. A really impressive defense. They have Lesdet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think she's a really good player. One of the top goal scorers, and South Africa making it through as well, so really impressive by them. We'll talk a little bit more about them when we do predictions later on in the video. We also had Colombia, who in my opinion have the best player in the tournament. It may sound crazy, I think that Linda Caicedo is the best women at this World Cup. I think she's a great player. Plays for Real Madrid Femenino, and a really good player. Scored a great goal that honestly I can't ever imagine Haji Wright, for example, scoring. And yeah, so they go through with Morocco and Germany out. So that's interesting to see. Germany have always performed really well in the women's game, and they ended up getting knocked out. All right, now moving on to predictions. Switzerland against Spain. I'm going to pick Switzerland to win. I don't think that Spain were impressive at all during the group stage. So a lot of hype around the team, but I picked Switzerland to win. Braden?
I'm going to go for Spain. I know that Switzerland topped their group. Spain were very disappointing in their last game against Japan. I think their hype just completely went away with that embarrassing loss. But I do think they still have the quality. I mean, they've got Putellas, the Ballon d'Or winner, among other players, Jenny Hermoso. And yeah, I think they'll get this one done.
All right, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm also going to go for Spain. You know, Barca biased, going up for Alexi Putellas. Really hope that you know, she probably produces some magic to help this team, because God help this team. You know, this team is pretty much more embarrassing than the men's team did.
All right, Akil, do you think that Putellas leads Spain to the next round, or are you picking Switzerland?
Okay, I barely know anything about these two teams, but I'm just gonna go with my gut and say Switzerland for the upset.
All right, that's fair. And now moving on to the Netherlands against South Africa. We saw the Netherlands in the group stage. I'm going to pick them to win this one quite easily. I think props to South Africa for going through, but Netherlands for me. What about you, Braden?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to South Africa for sure. I mean, an incredible story, making out of that group. Very tough group with Italy and Argentina getting knocked out, but I do think this is the end of the road for them. I think the Netherlands are very good. We saw that in the group stage. I would say they probably dominated the U.S. women's national team. Probably unlucky to win. Maybe the stats don't show that, but if you watch the game, you could see it. And I think they won't have too much of a problem here.
All right, Jeff, are you agreeing with us?
Of course I am. I'm going with Netherlands, and unfortunately, for Shakira, it's not time for Africa.
All right. What about you, Akil?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go with South Africa now, because this World Cup, it's been full of upsets. And for example, Japan knocking out Spain. No, they didn't knock them out, but they topped the group. And who else? Morocco, they also qualified for the next round. And yeah, this World Cup has been just a bunch of upsets. So I'm just going to go with another upset here in South Africa beating the Netherlands. Obviously, it could be a wild take, but I'm just going with my gut again.
It's time for Africa.
All right.
See it. See it.
All right. All right. Well, let's also remember Japan's really good with the women's. They actually won a World Cup against us once in a while, and Hamada Sawa was the best player in the world at that time. So, but yeah, it's a new generation. Definitely surprising. Now talking about them, Japan against Norway. I'm gonna pick Japan to win this one quite easily. I think that Norway has a good defense, but I think that Japan just has too much. What about you, Braden?
Yeah, let me just say quickly, as a Swedish fan, I'm a little bit pissed about this setup, because I mean USA and then Japan or Norway, that's got to be the toughest road to the final, or at least the semifinal in the tournament. But yeah, I don't unlike what Akil said, I don't think that Japan taking out Spain was too much of an upset. I do think they're the favorites as of now. They've looked the best team in the tournament, and Norway do have some good players. Ada Hegerberg stands out as the main one, but I think Japan will get it done here.
All right. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go Japan. You know, safe. I'm just gonna take the safe option and go with Japan. Not gonna play risky like Akil.
All right, Akil, are you picking a surprise here? Do you think that Norway can do it?
From what I've seen of Japan, I'm just going to say straight up, just Japan's going to win this.
All right. Now moving on to the game that we need to talk about, Sweden against the United States. Like Braden mentioned, a really tough pathway here. Let's see if the U.S. survives. I'm going to pick the U.S. to win this one. Obviously, no bias here, absolutely. So I think that the U.S. wins this one with a marginal win, 1-0. What about you, Braden?
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no way I'm not taking Sweden here. I mean, come on. Like, we saw the U.S. struggle against a pretty fringe quality European team in Portugal. They probably should have lost that game. I mean, that chance near the end they hit the post saved them completely. And Sweden, like I said, they've been probably, I would say, the second best team in the tournament behind Japan. And, I mean, yeah, I've got to back Sweden here.
All right, that's fair. No shockers there. What about you, Jeff? Do you pick
Sweden,
the U.S. to go
Sweden,
through?
Sweden. Not because of who I want to pick. It's because of who I think and who I want to win. Sweden. You know, I kick the women's national team out of here. They're embarrassing.
Oh, wow. What about you, Akil? Do you think that the U.S. can do it?
Okay, for not a chance. Sweden is going to demolish the U.S. women 10-0. And hopefully it's Megan Rapinoe's last World Cup, and she retires immediately after this, and this team can rebuild with a better coach, younger players, and from then on, I'll support this team.
All right, moving on to the other side. I think it's a really weaker bracket compared to the top half. Australia against Denmark. Honestly, better mid here. I think that Denmark's going to do it. They had a good showing against England, barely lost, so I think they have enough. What about you, Braden? Are you picking another Scandinavian to go through?
Unfortunately, no. I'm going to have to go for Australia. I mean, they have the home crowd advantage, which is a big part in World Cups. I mean, we've seen it at least in the men's World Cup. The home teams tend to do well. Obviously not Qatar because they're horrible.
I was just about to say that.
In Russia, I mean, they beat Spain on pens. I mean, no one was expecting them to do that. And we have to remember Australia have been doing all this without their main player, Sam Kerr. And assuming she is back for this game, they shouldn't have too much of a trouble. I mean, they beat Canada, who are supposedly one of the best teams in the world, 4-0 without her. So imagine what they can do when she's back.
Yeah, apparently she is back. Like, they confirmed that she has match fitness to play. It's just going to be a matter of time to decide game day. What about you, Jeff? Do you think that Australia goes through?
I'm going to keep going the Scandinavian path. I'm going with Denmark.
All right.
Yep. I don't like Sam Kerr a lot. I don't like her a lot.
Oh, wow. What about you, Akil? Do you think that they go through?
No, I think Australia has to win this with home field advantage as well. And this could be a demolishing.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah, Sam Kerr can definitely help them a lot. They have been firing a lot. Plus her, I mean, it's going to be a good attack. Now, England against Nigeria. I think that, unfortunately, England goes through on this one. think they have a really good team. I want Nigeria to win, but I'll pick England. What about you, Braden?
Yeah, again, well done to Nigeria for qualifying ahead of Canada. Good for US fans at least. But yeah, England are winning this game. I mean, Lauren James, you mentioned the Colombian player, I forget her name, as the player who's been the best. I think it's been Lauren James, obviously the sister of Reece James, one of the best men's players in the world, and Lauren's just been lighting it up this tournament. I think she's been probably England's only bright spot, to be honest. The rest of the team has looked subpar, but yeah, I think they'll win this game.
All right,
It's
Jeff.
Linda Caicedo.
Linda Caicedo, yeah, she's a beast. All right, Jeff, who are you picking, England or Nigeria?
I guess it's maybe coming home. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, England. No, I just wanted to piss off some English fans. No, I'm still choosing England. They're not winning it though.
All right, Akil.
Yeah, it has to be England, and I think Lauren James is the best attacking player in the world, over Putellas and Alex Morgan. So I think England will win this World Cup.
Moving on to France against Morocco. Morocco led by Jaraidi. I've never heard of her. She's 30 years old, but played really well in one of the only full games that I watched. So having said that, I still pick France. I think they'll win the game. Braden?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit funny how Morocco qualified over Germany despite losing 6-0 to them in the first game of the group stage. It just shows that really anything can happen in football. But yeah, that being said, France are going to win this game pretty handily.
All right, Jeff?
Oh boy. Let's miracle worked for the men's team. Why not the women's team? Morocco still.
All right. What about you, Akil?
Okay, I'm going for another upset here in Morocco, and I think they're going to be motivated by the men's team, and I think they're just going to do just the same for the women's team.
All right. Now, Colombia against Jamaica. It's sad to say Jamaica gets knocked out here. I think Colombia has way too much skill and a lot of trickster type of players to win this game. Braden?
Yeah, as sad as it is to say, I think the fairy tale run comes to an end here for Jamaica. But I mean, regardless of the result, they can all go home with their heads held extremely high. They did their country so proud, even making it this far.
And they did me proud knocking out Seleção Brasileira Feminina. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, fortunately, Linda Caicedo has other plans, and so does Colombia. Yeah, this is the end of the road for Jamaica. No, it's amazing, though. You know, they accomplished something the men can only dream about. But yeah, they did their country proud. They really showed the federation, you know, that the impossible can happen. But yeah, fair play to Jamaica. Colombia's winning it.
All right, Akil.
Okay, I really respect what Jamaica's done, qualifying to the next round after having a GoFundMe to pay for their flight ticket, and then eventually going to the next round. And I really respect them, but there's no way they actually beat Colombia with Linda Caicedo, one of the best young players in the world for women's soccer. And I think they have to pull it off.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We'll see how well our predictions fare for the next video. I'm just calling it now. Hinata Miyazama, player of the tournament. Japan's going to win it all. That's my take from now. Jeff, you have something to say?
Yeah, I predicted all this without watching a single game. Just remember that.
All right, we'll keep this on. We'll keep this on and put it in the beginning of the
Literally, I didn't watch a single game, not even a minute or second. And I still
classic
predicted
Jeff.
it.
All right, what about you, Brandon?
Yeah, don't count out Sweden. We're winning it all.
Oh yeah, for sure. My Swedish
All
brother.
right. All right, let's do this. Jeff, who's your pick to win it all? Just really quick.
Between Sweden and Colombia.
All
Oh
right,
yeah,
what
and
about-
Japan. One of those three.
All right, what about you, Akil?
I don't like to say this, but England, they're taking the Women's World Cup home.
All right, well, thank you guys. It was fun making this video. Please let us know in the comments if the Women's World Cup is a topic that we should cover going forward. We got some requests for it. Let's see how well this video does. And let's hope for good games in the next round. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, and share for us. But we had the commitment to make a Women's World Cup video. Not a lot of people do that. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time.